Good morning, one and all. Hope I find you well. Hope I find you, excited to talk about management. It's going to be a slightly shorter stream today than usual because I'm gonna do a different video. I've decided I'm gonna do a different video today that's slightly different. I don't know what I'm gonna call it. Maybe something like Mr. Businessman rants or something like that because I've got a couple of topics that I want to talk about. Main one, I think the first one we'll talk about is education. So if it doesn't, if there isn't a video up after this called something like that, it didn't go well. But I think in these weird times, we need to discuss some things. There's a couple of things that I'm wanting to talk to you about. Um, but we'll get onto that in another video. Okay, so we're going to talk about management by objectives and management today. So it's just after this leadership one, slightly different, but it's mainly based on McGregor theory X and Y. We talked about it. I don't know why it isn't in the leadership role. They talk about it as a management technique, or rather a management way of thinking, and I think that's why it's under management rather than leadership. But it's interchangeable, really. You can talk about it in leadership as well, so it's quite an important one. All right, so we're going to jump straight into it because, as I said, I'm going to do something else after this as well. So I sort of allot an amount of time usually for videos during the day. So I don't want to, use all my time up doing these today. So I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna jump on something. Sorry if you've never seen this before and this is your first time watching. Usually a lot more structured. Okay, so we're gonna have a little look at management by objectives. As I said, let me explain to you what it is. Okay, so first things first, though. Let's recap some stuff. So, using your knowledge from component one, your aims and objectives stuff that we did right at the start. Write a definition for an aim. Write a definition for an objective. Can you think of any aims and objectives that are used by a specific business? Pause the stream. Pause the replay. Have a go at aims and objectives. What is an aim? What is an objective? Okay, I'll just give you a second to do it. To pause it. Okay. I'll assume you're back. So, in terms of this, the main thing, I'm not going to give you a textbook definition, but the main thing that I want you to remember the aims and objectives is that the aims are the overall sort of direction that the business is going in, the overall goal that we're trying to get to, and your objectives are smaller, more achievable things that we can do to actually achieve that aim. So aims can a lot of the time can be very not actually physically achievable. They can just be an idea or something that we'd like to do. Whereas your objectives are ways that we can physically move towards achieving that thing. Okay. So anything like that's totally fine. If you remember back, if you want to go back to aims and objectives, there's a video on it way back when. But yeah, if you want to have a look at it, feel free. Okay. So can you think of any example aims and objectives that are used for a specific business? You might want to think about things like overall aims of like survival, profit maximization, that kind of stuff. Objectives could be something like, achieve a certain amount of growth between a certain amount of time. Remember, think about, setting aims and objectives, are, especially objectives, are they've got to be smart. Okay, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. And if you don't have those, it's very difficult to measure yourself against them, isn't it? All right. So just a little bit of a recap there for you. Now, what are we going to have a look at? Well, explain the functions and roles of management. Explain the advantages and disadvantages of management by objectives, MBO. Explain McGregor's theory X and Y. We've already talked about these a little bit in the last video, but it's okay. We'll go to town on him today and explain it properly. Explain the importance of management to a business and its stakeholders. All right. So, what is management? Okay, well, definition of management. Managers control and direct the workforce to follow the principles or values that have been established by leadership. Okay, so they're not, whilst they do hold some leadership qualities, good managers do, they're not there to inspire, they're not there to, innovate in that regard, although they can, and good managers will. They're there to physically do. So I think the way I think about it is like your leader is like the aim, as in the one who inspires, the one who you can work towards, the one who sets the overall thing, and your manager's like your objective, the actual physical way of doing it. That's a good way of remembering it. Okay. So it could be argued that managers act on behalf of the owners, they set objectives for the organisation, make sure that a business achieves its objectives, ensure that corporate values are maintained in dealing with other businesses, customers, employees, and the general public. So they're the people who make sure whatever that the leader's trying to achieve, whatever we're finally doing as a business, trying to physically do as a business, trying to do corporately, that is maintained. We don't just miss out on it. It's really important that. Okay. What character traits do you think effective managers should have? All right. So what is it? If you've had an effective manager, I've definitely dealt with effective managers and not effective managers before, and there was the same thing which they did, which really turned me off. And I suppose that's to do with my personality and what I'm looking for out of my work. And if we think about Maslow's hierarchy and stuff, where I am in the hierarchy and what you need to do to motivate me. Usually with me, I'm pretty easygoing really in that regard. Like I don't mind. I'm a hard worker. I will do the work, and I will do it to a good standard, and I will put my all into it. And if you give me the opportunity to, if you treat me like I'm an idiot, or if you talk down to me, or if I feel like you're trying to take advantage of me, then I will shut down on you, and I will purposely not do things. I will purposely be as awkward as I can with you because I feel like you're being awkward with me. But that's not usually the way I am. Usually the way I am is I am a very giving person as an employee. I really do try, and I will go above and beyond, and I will try and do things like that because, as I said, on the Maslow's hierarchy, I'm probably in that that esteem bit, or slightly higher, where I'm trying to get a congratulations, trying to impress, trying to do whatever it is. And that probably comes from education and stuff like that as well. But it's important to remember what kind of employee you're dealing with, because effective managers need to change their position, don't they, to effectively manage different people. And especially it's to do with the employees as well. We have to make sure that we're working for the right companies. But it's definitely a two-pronged approach, isn't it? If you've dealt with effective managers before, you'll know what I mean. So functions of managers. All right. So we talked about what do you think character traits do you think we'll need? Well, they're going to have some character traits in these to be able to achieve these, aren't they? So we can think about character traits of being, intelligent people, good listeners, reasonable, good leaders to an extent, that they will act on your behalf as well as that. I always think managers are there to shield you from above and to sort of take the rubbish from below as well. So they're the kind of like they're a sieve, because the above managers don't want to be listened to by the employees usually, and the managers are there to be a conduit for information for the leaders as well. So they kind of take rubbish from above and take rubbish from below, and they're trying to work on that. But I think managers, the most important thing to be an effective manager is that you can't side with any side. I think it's important to do that. You've got to remember where your loyalties are, essentially. So if you are a manager and you only, all right, well, my loyalty is to the company. It doesn't matter what, if I think this is immoral or not. I don't think this, I'm still going to do it because I've been told to do it, and I'm going to be dead pro, because I think it's important, isn't it? You experience this when managers are like too pro company. As I said, I don't know if you've seen this, where they'll come out with some nonsense. The company will come out with some nonsense, and then you'll get a manager who is trying to like convince you that the company's correct, even though it's nonsense, and they don't really believe it, but they're trying to convince you that it's a good thing. So it's a difficult, and as I said, I'm sure you'll have dealt with this. If you haven't dealt with it, then congratulations, you will deal with it in the future. Anyway, let's have a look. So functions of management, they do lead, but they're not leaders. Okay, they're not. They are there to inspire, but they're not. That's not one of the main facets of their actual position. They're there to plan. They're there to organise, control. They do have the functional things as well. Functional sort of expertise. HR, sales, marketing, accounting, whatever it is, and they'll be sort of experts in that field in that regard. They're there to coordinate as well, make sure that the coordination is done effectively, and make sure that everybody's working towards the same goals and things like that. So basically what I'd do is if I was you, I would, if you've got them in your book, great, but if you haven't, just put these out on a piece of paper and do them as a spider diagram. So when you say lead as a manager, it's different than leading as a leader, isn't it? Leading as a manager is effectively working within some constraints, working within the culture of the business, and being able to still effectively, innovate, inspire, whatever it is that you're trying to do. When you're doing your plans, it's important to work with the people around you, isn't it? Make sure that you have got the best talent around you. Make sure that you are actively, recruiting and keeping the best people. So it's all about making sure that we minimize absenteeism and things like that, isn't it? Because leaders are great at setting us out, doing that overall aim, but it's about those objectives, isn't it? It's about the objectives of how we physically do these things, which are really going to be the experience that employees have with the business, and the experience that that your customers are going to have with the company as well, is all to do with how it's managed rather than how it's led, I think. Organisation's a really important thing, isn't it, in terms of this? Maybe organising the aims and objectives, organising people, organising rotas, organising parties, there's a range of things that managers are there for, isn't there? Controlling things as well, it's an important thing, isn't it? Making sure things don't get out of hand. You've got to remember that different stakeholders have different needs, different wants from the business, including different types of employees. We've talked about before, are we all working towards the same goal? No, we're not. There will be employees who are trying to sabotage your efforts. There will be employees who specifically don't want to come to work and they're trying to get away with doing as little as possible. There will be employees that are really trying to do a good job. And the important thing to do as a manager is to differentiate between those and not treat everybody as, oh, well, we're doing this. That brings us on to McGregor pretty well, but we're going to talk about this just before we get on to McGregor. We're going to talk about this. Now, management by objectives is a philosophy that objectives are defined within an organisation so that the management and workers agree to the objectives and understand what they need to do in order to achieve them. So the idea is, if we can set some objectives, get everybody's buy-in, and then work on that together and work towards those things, that everybody's singing from the same hymn sheet, everybody knows where we're going, and everybody's in agreement with what we're doing. So, we should be in a good position. So the definition is a system of mutually agreed, important, mutually agreed, we haven't just been given to them, we've agreed to them, targets between managers and employees, which is intended to ensure that everyone is working towards organisational goals. Okay? Now, the organisational goals are those overall goals that we're trying to work towards, but we'll also have those objectives. So those objectives which will break it down a little bit further. So we'll all know where we're going. So management by objectives sort of tries to get rid of that idea that we don't know. We'll get in a position where employees, whether a big company or a small company, are thinking that they're there for some other reason, that we minimise that kind of risk of people being in oh, well, I think we're doing this for the company, oh, well, I think we're doing that. No. Management by objectives allows us to all be on the same footing here. We all know that we're working towards this, whether it's in education and thinking of, student retention, student numbers, student things like that, or whether it's in a normal business, is in sales and trying to get people, repeat custom loyalty and things like that. All right. So in terms of this is how we physically do management by objectives. So it was Drucker who came up with it, and he grouped the operations of management into 5 categories, all right, which are on here, okay, and they do have an order to them, so that's why they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it makes sense when you look at them why it's in this order. So first of all, review objectives for the whole business, so the corporate objectives. So we'll look at the corporate objectives are under the aims, essentially. So they're the most senior objectives. So when we've got the overall aim of, I don't know, survive or something like that, or, profit maximization or something like that we're trying to actually physically do. Or if you remember, we talked about ages ago with like Coca-Cola saying that they want to, do you remember their mission was to refresh the world in mind, body and soul. Pretty big for a carbonated drink, isn't it, to say that? But when you're saying that, it's how do we physically achieve those things. So the objectives might be profit maximization, they might be survival, they might be doing these things, but we need to make sure that whatever it is, that the most senior objectives, the most important things that we're trying to do, everybody's on board with them, that we're actually going in the right direction. So first of all, review those top objectives that we're actually going towards. Second, set objectives for the management of different functions of the business. So if we know right at the top what we're trying to get to, then we can have a look at slightly below it. Right, well, head of marketing, you need to be working on this, head of that, and we need to be able to break it down, don't we? All right. Next, set objectives for individual departments and workers. Be more specific, so it's in case of it's going more and more specific every time, isn't it? Then we monitor progress to see if our manager work. Well, we monitor progress of the managers and workers to check if the objectives are being reached, and then we evaluate the performance and give rewards if the objectives were reached. Okay. Now, let's move on. Now, to achieve management by objectives, managers should, first of all, identify and agree targets for achievement with subordinates. As I said, don't want you to misunderstand the importance of getting people's buy-in for this. If you don't get the employees' buy-in, it's not management by objectives, it's just basic management, really. It's just trying to get people to do things if you've not got their buy-in from it. Negotiate the support that will be required for these to achieve these targets. So negotiate the support that will be required from a range of different stakeholders. It could be for anyone, these, isn't it? But in terms of this, the negotiation thing is the key point here, isn't it? Talking about it, sort of agreeing it and discussing it. And then we've got evaluate over time to the extent which these objectives are met. It's no point of setting objectives if you're not going to go back and reevaluate them, is it? There's no point of doing something then going, oh, well, I've done that now. There's no need to have a look at it again, like business plans and stuff like that, isn't it? They're effective if you actually use them. Remember, an effective objective must be smart, as I said, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound. I always think achievable and realistic are quite similar. You could probably get rid of them, but it probably wouldn't make sense then, and then it'd be smart. So, little advantages, improve management control of the organisation. We've got some much better clarity of our goals. We're all on board with them. We all understand where the company is trying to do, what our focus is this year. Improve financial control because we know we're not wasting money on stuff that we shouldn't be doing. It allows managers to be aware of their responsibilities. Managers are aware of how their role fits into the organisational objectives. That can be quite motivational, good for them to feel like they're actually doing something of worth. The work of the departments and managers is coordinated. Everyone is working towards a common goal. It can motivate the workforce, and it can improve communication systems within the organisation as well, because you might not need accounting to be talking to marketing. It might not be needed. So in which case, why have we got this really stringent situation where we can get in touch? It might be more important for them to be, literally changed. We could physically move people, couldn't we? Physically direct them differently within the workspace. Disadvantages, though, because there always is. Management time is spent on the process rather than managing the organisation. The business environment or context in which goals are set may change. Demotivation and a breakdown of working relationships can occur if all levels of the hierarchy are not involved in setting objectives. Objectives can be seen as a form of management control, so some people get naffed off because they feel like they're being controlled too much, and the situation may arise where managers lose focus. There can be things like this, can't they? This isn't taking into account all the external environment stuff where it might be okay to set these objectives and say, yeah, okay, you can do this, you can do that, but what about if the economy happens? What, in terms of changes, what if there's a recession? What if there's a pandemic? What if there's a Interestingly enough, though, have you noticed that probably in the future we're going to talk about things like that? We'll probably bring this up a lot more. What if there's a pandemic? It's strange that we haven't had one for so long that had such an effect on the country like this, isn't it? And I suppose it shows the detriment that it could be if someone tried to use it to their advantage. But anyway. Analyse the benefits, including of all employees, of setting goals and defining the course of action to reach objectives. What are the benefits, impacts, knock-on effects? So this is just a little bit of practice for you. Analyse, remember, analyse is an AO3. The benefits, so there's not a benefits and disadvantages, so it's not an AO4 question. Of all employees, so we've got a range of different things that you can go for. What are the benefits, impacts, knock-on effects? So only way I would answer this, quick definition of what aims and objectives are, or whatever, if aim or objective, if you want to go with that. And you could talk about management by objectives if you want in this. But the main thing that I'd be talking about is the fact that it gets everybody on the same, working towards the same things. It can get us better financial control. It can you see what the things that we've just talked about, and then the impact. Remember, AO3 is the impact on the business, and talk about the significance. It's really important that. So, is it on a big business? Is it on a small business? Is it on a new business, an old business? What is it that we're actually applying this to? Okay. Now that brings us on to there's a couple of questions here, a little activity. You've already got these in your book, but if you haven't got the book, feel free to stop this and have a go with these. Pretty good questions. I'm not going to go through all these. There's no need because you can go have a go. But I'm going to go on to McGregor. Okay, Douglas McGregor. McGregor attempted to apply the implications of Maslow on the work of Taylor and Mayo to a business, right? Okay, so McGregor was saying, yeah, okay, you've got your management techniques and stuff like that, and you've got your motivational techniques, but let's actually apply them in the real world. How does that work? And he said he gives different reasons why people work and came up with two theories. And he said that it's all about the psychology of the worker, and they are either a theory X worker or a theory Y worker. Now, he said it's not really down to how many theory X workers and theory Y workers that you have. It's about how the manager perceives people. So it's about you yourself. How do you think people are? So you as a manager, do you think people are inherently trying to get away with doing naff all day? Or do you think that people will inherently want to do a good job? And that's basically McGregor's theory of X or Y. Are they trying to get away with doing stuff? Or do you believe that people are inherently trying to do a good job and trying to, if they're left to their own devices, they will actually do a good job? So Theory X managers, and remember when we say Theory X managers, they're just people who believe in Theory X. Theory X managers is founded on the assumption that mediocrity of the masses, in terms of the average person is an idiot, and they're trying to get away with doing nothing all day, if we could. All right. So the Theory X manager makes several assumptions. Workers must be supervised, or the quality and quantity of output will fall. Workers only respect the type of manager that tells them what to do. Money is the only motivator. Does it remind you of anyone? Taylorism. Workers do not want to be involved in the decision-making process, so it's anti-Mayo, isn't it? Workers wish to remain faceless and unknown in management, so it's anti-Maslow. Workers have little ambition. Again, Maslow. So you've got your, Hertzberg as well. It's anti-Hertzberg, really, isn't it? All the psychological, sociological stuff which they've brought up that would kind of push motivation theory a little bit further. Theory X is against that. Theory X is very Taylorist. It's very sort of, basic in its assumptions of people, really. Okay. Now, what do you think the Theory X looks like in a business, and what motivation theories does Theory X link with, and why? Well, the Theory X link is very strongly with Taylorism, isn't it? It's very, very based on that. So your piece rate and things like that would be ideal for it. What do you think Theory X looks like in a business? Well, it's a very close supervision, very little room for innovation or autonomy within your work. Just basic work and very, very close supervision, really. Maybe low skilled, low wage, but you will have come into contact with them, and if you haven't, you will have come into contact with people who are Theory X employers and managers, because they will they have to try and give you something to do, because they think, oh well, they've got this weird idea in their mind that a worker should be working 100% of the time, and if they're not working 100% of the time, then that's bad capacity utilization. But that's not how capacity utilization works. We know that, don't we? We know that 90% capacity utilization is ideal, because that gives us an opportunity to move either way. And whilst capacity utilization is usually talking about production, in this case, we're talking about people's production, people's ability to do a job, aren't we? It's not usually the best way of doing it is running people into the ground, making sure that they're working 100% of the time, because you get stuff like Amazon then, where people are not able to finish the job and not able to do, they're running themselves ragged, trying to be as efficient as they can. So if you've dealt with people like these are people who really micromanage you. They won't let you have any say. What's doing this? I need to be involved with everything, and that's because they don't trust you. And they're if they trust you, then they would be more of a Theory Y manager. But if you've dealt with Theory X managers, they can be extremely infuriating. Now, some people, despite me feeling like that, some people actually like Theory X managers. If you don't care about your job and you are genuinely a Theory X worker who just wants to get away with doing nothing, and you do the bare minimum, then these are ideal because they'll make sure you do something. They'll make sure that you're actually doing something during the day. Now, I don't want that. I don't want you to treat me like I'm an idiot. I don't want you to micromanage me. You don't need to, because I'm a professional. I'm very qualified. I know what I'm doing. I don't need you, and I have the self-motivation to get up and go and do things anywhere. I don't know, hence this YouTube channel. But I know there are other people who need it. So in which case, you've got to look at yourself. Do you think you're Theory X or Theory Y? In which case, which kind of manager would you be better with? Now, Theory Y, managers believe that the reverse is true. They have a positive assumption about the employee, so they're trying to be positive about you. Workers cannot be motivated by money alone, so very anti-Taylorism. They seek more than financial satisfaction from the jobs. Workers are ambitious, willing to train and contribute to improve their chances of promotion. Workers will be more efficient if they're left to their own devices. Trust breeds responsibility. It's interesting, that, isn't it? Trust breeds responsibility. And I remember this other one as well that was said on that Lean On Me movie with Morgan Freeman. Discipline is not the enemy of enthusiasm. I really like that. So remember that. Workers want to contribute to improving efficiency. They will want to be seen, be noticed, and rewarded, appreciated for the work that that when they do well. So essentially, we've got who is it that we've got with this one? What motivation theorists do you think we've got there? So we've got Maslow, haven't we? We've definitely got Maslow because he's talking about the hierarchy, talking about going with those higher order. We've got Mayor because he's talking about getting people in teams, getting people involved with the decision-making process. We've got Hertzberg because he's talking about those motivating factors. And essentially, you've got the other guys, haven't you? You've got Porter and Lawler as well. When they're talking about what are they talking about? I forgot off the top of my head now. We've done so many theories recently. They all go into one, don't they? But yeah, you see what I mean. It's an important one, isn't it? You can see that there is a definitive difference between the two. So McGregor knew that, and he was trying to differentiate of saying, well, look, if you agree with Hertzberg, Mayer, Maslow, you're on Theory Y. If you agree with Taylor, you're on Theory X. There could be different situations where different people, this applies to different people and different types of people. So yeah, okay. Now, last thing I really want you to do today is spend a little bit of time, after the stream, that's fine. On a scale, identify 5 more stakeholders and evaluate the importance of management on them. So state the aim of the stakeholder. Remember, it's really important to know those off by heart now. If you don't, keep practicing them every day. So what do employees want? They want decent wages, security of income. What do customers want? The cheapest possible price for the best possible quality. What the managers want to be able to, achieve their the organisational aims or whatever objectives they're trying to achieve at that time, and cost minimisation. You should be able to go through and do that, and it should be second nature really by this point. So if it's not, then please practice those things. And then you've got select either management by objectives, Theory X or Theory Y, or do all of them. Analyse the impact, whether the aim would be met or not, whether it would be actually helpful or not, whether they would actually be able to do this thing or not, and decide if the impact is positive or negative, if it's minimal or significant. All right, so nice little recap thing for your stakeholders. Apply them to stakeholders. Remember, if you've not been doing it, apply. Make sure that you're applying all those different topics that we've talked about to stakeholders, because they are going to be on the exam. All right, but one thing we do know will definitely be on the exam will be stakeholders. Okay, now I told you we were going to do sort of like a shorter one today. That's why I picked that topic really, because it's quite fast to get through. We're going to have a little look at the news, and then, as I said, I'm going to shoot off because I'm going to do another video. I don't think I'm going to do it live. No, I think I'll do it off and then I'll upload it in a bit, and we'll see. But I'll see what you think anyway. Remember, if you've got any ideas for videos or anything that you want to see, please feel free to get in touch with me. Comment, like, subscribe, tell your family, and then come back to me. But anyway, let's have a little look at the news. All right. So we're living in crazy times still, obviously, and the news is changing. we've got a very difficult situation now, because in the UK at this moment in time we're being told by the government not to lock down. That lockdown hasn't been lifted, but then simultaneously they might as well have done, considering the amount of stuff they're going to do. And if you look at the deaths that are coming out of it, it's frightening. As I said, it really is, because we had, I think it was over the weekend, it was something like 600 deaths in a day. That's 600 families that are being affected by things like this. 600 groups of friends that are never going to see the friend anymore. You know, that's a son or a daughter or a mother or a father or all of those things. So it's, you know, it's important to see the sort of the significance of this. I don't know whether they're more bothered about the economy and things like that, which of course we need. But by the same thing, they then announced that the furlough scheme was going to be extended. And so you think, well, isn't that contradictory? If you're that bothered, why are you getting rid of that? I don't know. But anyway, so some return to work. So it's a big thing, this, you know, and this is the problem. They said, we don't expect to have a massive inflow of people going to work. Well, you told them to, so it's strange that you would not think that. People in England who cannot work from home are being encouraged to work to the return to workplace. I love that. Encouraged. What do you mean encouraged? Do you mean threatened? Do you mean told? Encouraged is so a nice word. I don't think they are being encouraged. I think they're being told to go back to work. He said, Transport Secretary Grant Shapps urged people to avoid public transport if possible. Yeah, have you been to London, Grant Shapps? I bet you live there, and do you understand that that's not possible? You need public transport to get around London. London is a massive, massive place. You can't just walk. You can't, you know, if you were going on a bike, it might take you an hour to get there. If people just aren't going to be doing that, you're going to kit everybody out in the country with bikes. It's not going to work. This is a life and death situation. Well, why aren't you taking it more seriously then, Grant? Under the new rules, people can also spend more time outside. Meet a friend in the park. I don't know why the park as well. Like, we're all obsessed with parks. Maybe this is, again, it's about people in London not really understanding. Oh, there's the cat. Go on. Not really understanding the way that the rest of the world are, especially like the Northwest and things like that. It's different. We're living in a different world, aren't we, from these people? Sports that can be physically distant, such as golf, are now permitted. Oh, yeah, so we can all go out and play golf as well. That's an exciting one, isn't it? I don't think... It says here, new guidance from the College of Policing say officers have no powers to enforce 2-metre distancing. So... Yeah, those who break the lockdown rules are set to face tougher fines than before. In what way? What fines? I've never been told there's a fine. What for what? What law have I broken? I bet there is a law, actually, a piece of legislation. It led to a divergence in lockdown rules between the UK government and devolved administrations such as Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland, keeping stricter measures. I mean, that's worrying, isn't it? The fact that the other countries are deciding to stay in. I think it's more sensible. It's frightening. It really is. I think it comes down to whether you trust them or not, and just don't, because it's just doesn't come across as reasonable. Anyway, let's have a look at the business news. See, now this is what we were talking about the other day. It's important. This I might bring this up in my talk in a minute when I do them. But it says here, Jared Thomas says he's trying to inject some excitement into his life by getting into the kitchen and cooking something nice. The 26-year-old is hungry for work, but the coronavirus outbreak means financially stretched customers have little appetite for his tree surgery services at the moment. Everybody's life has been turned upside down. I really don't know when the work will pick up. I'd be surprised if it does in the next month or two. Like so many other young employees, he may feel like he's been forgotten at his economic crisis. Jared from South Wales said that he started work too recently to be eligible for the government's financial support for the self-employed. Instead, he has to claim universal credit benefit for the first time so he can pay his rent. In many ways, he's still one of the lucky ones. If work picks up, he still has a job. But this is not the case for Gemma, a 16-year-old from Fleet who was let go from a salon during the hairdressing apprenticeship. No job means no qualification, which she said has left her heartbroken. She's too young to drive, and the chances of finding another job nearby are looking increasingly slim. They will be focused on building up the salon. They will have no time to take new people on. This is what I was saying, people. This is what I was saying. People are not understanding the seriousness of the situation. I've been speaking to students who are dropping courses and things like that. And at the end of the day, it's up to them what they do. It's their lives. But just I just don't think people are understanding that this, it says history shows that school leavers like her are usually hardest hit by following a recession in terms of financial health too. Many suffer long spells of unemployment, slower pay rises, and people with degrees. This is what I was talking about, and I apologise that if I feel like I'm beating the same thing all over the time, but it's infuriating to me that students are going to screw themselves over here, thinking they're really clever. Oh, I'm done with education, mate. I'm done. And then you're going to have to suffer because it's just an insurance thing. It doesn't guarantee you a job. It just means you're more likely to do it. If loads of people have got a degree and you haven't, then that means you're going to be competing with loads of people who have degrees. Why would they employ you? Because you're cheaper? I mean, I don't want to be cheaper. I want to be, I want to be decently paid for mine. I can't. They don't know you. That's the important thing, isn't it? All they've got is a piece of paper that has some qualifications on, and yours doesn't have any on, or very few. So saying, oh yeah, well, I'm done with education, I'm going to go and do blah, blah, blah. If you do, then fantastic, congratulations. And I'm not saying that everybody should follow the same path. What I'm saying is people are not saying, this is real, isn't it? For example, unemployment among GCSE level qualifications peaked at 32.3% in the 2008 financial crisis, compares with 13.4% for those with a master's degree. Can you see the difference? Look at state. Last recession hurt people with fewer qualifications. Yeah. Of course it will. Because why would we employ these people when we could employ these people? Like, degree, it's not that much different, is it? Masters, less. Because you've got to think of the type of thing. And it's 10%, it's 1 in 10. But that's approaching 2 in 10, isn't it? It's not perfect, but it is. It's definitely significantly more. It's not saying it's perfect, but it's saying, look at the state. Look at this one. I don't know how they're doing that. What are they showing? Is this an average? How could that be an average? Because it's below all the other things. Is that currently? I don't know. Anyway, I think that might be currently. But can you see? Look at the state of it. And if you see, yeah, okay, it was 15%, but nearly 35% for people with GCSE level qualifications. Goodness me. It's frightening. It really is frightening. And you've got these students who are not ready to take these steps, but unfortunately are making decisions for themselves. It's an interesting one. Twitter allows staff to work home forever. Twitter has told staff they can work home forever if they wish, as the company looks towards a future after the coronavirus pandemic. The decision came as the social media giant said its work-from-home measures during the lockdown has been a success, but it said that it would allow workers to return to the office if they choose when it reopens. Earlier this month, Google and Facebook said their staff can work from home until the end of the year. Twitter said the past few months have proven we can make it work, so if our employees want a role and a situation that enables them to work from home and they want to continue to do so forever, we will make that happen. Now that's what you need, isn't it? That's good. I mean, I have a friend who's already been told that, not through choice actually, he's been told he's doing it, but ultimately he's not unhappy about working from home forever. He's in a position, he's got his setup and everything like that, he's comfortable, he's able to do things like that. And it says it's been described as an era-defining moment in one digital innovation. Do we need workplaces anymore like that? Is there a way? Can we? It'd be a hell of a lot cheaper, wouldn't it? I mean, education is the weird one. Education is the one where I think that we probably do, because I don't think this is as effective as having people face to face. But ultimately, if you can't do face to face, which it's looking like for the foreseeable future, we can't. Then this will have to be a decent alternative, won't it? Oh yeah, and I saw this as well. Moving home allowed as curbs lift on estate agents. You see what I mean? They're saying that they've not lifted lockdown. How have they not lifted lockdown? This seems pretty big, considering that the death rate is massive at the minute, and they're saying it's decreasing slightly, but it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be up and down. Oh, well, the 7-day rolling average is slightly below. Well, it seems to be a big step to make. The government has set out plans to restart England's housing market, which has been in deep freeze since the coronavirus lockdown. Estate agents can now open, viewings can be carried out, and removal firms and conveyancers can start. Well, that's good, because I need a what's it called doing. I'm getting a remortgage at the minute, and I do need someone to come and have a look at the house. So, but he's not coming in. Um, Housing Secretary Rosa Jenick said that changes must be carried out under social distancing and safety rules. It's estimated that it's 450,000 buyers and renters that plans on hold. Our clear plan. I love it. That really frustrates me when they keep saying clear. Our clear plan. Yeah, because you're an idiot. You don't understand what clear is. Yeah. The clear plan will enable people to help move home safely, covering each aspect of the sales and letting process from viewings to removals. The critical industry can now safely move forward. As I said, I'm so glad that they're so confident with all this. And when it goes up again, you know, when the thing goes up, when the death count goes up again, who will be responsible for that? Are we going to look to the government and say, yeah, you shouldn't have, you should have been a bit more careful? Because we're the second highest death rate in the world at this minute in time. Do you not think that's a bit weird? You know, and we're a tiny island in comparison to some of these big countries. Places like Russia, places like China, that have crazy amounts of people, and they've got significantly, and I'm talking about, 10 times less, or 10 times less than we have. It's frightening. It really is. Anyway, sorry to end on a doom and gloom, but I will speak to you soon, because I'm going to do, as I said, I'm going to do a quick video anyway. I will stay safe. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good weekend. Have a good weekend. Have a good weekday. And I'll see you then. All right. Peace.